so many tech entrepreneurs look at it just as a job for life. And when I show them that you can exit a company for north of 10 times revenue, they get it pretty quickly. Welcome to the Thrive Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Potter. We're dedicated to helping tech founders and entrepreneurs along the path to success. Today, I'm glad to introduce Clay Vaughan. He's a colleague and marketing expert.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me on the show, Bill. And it's an honor to support Thrive and to support Thrive's clients. And so as we're diving into this inaugural episode, I'd love to turn the tables a little bit and hear more about Bill Potter. So all I got to say is, from what you and I have had the chance to chat about, is there's a lot on the horizon, and it's going to be a lot of good things for tech founders and entrepreneurs. I'm
excited to get started.
Awesome. So, Bill, I mean, you and we've had the chance to get to know each other over the past little bit, and I am just blown away with your story. Absolutely blown away with it. I mean, the success that you've seen is what every entrepreneur aspires to. And when I think about the people that you serve, I want them to know that story too. So I'd love to hear, what is the origin story? What is the secret sauce for Bill Potter?
Well, I came up through the ranks of corporate management, worked on Wall Street, have done mergers and acquisitions. But what I really had a passion for since I was in grade school was being an entrepreneur. And I didn't have a mentor. And so that's why I became a corporate executive. But the passion just kept bubbling up. And so I went through a career-changing event and decided it was time to become an entrepreneur. And so I became a fractional CFO. And then very quickly, once I was inside companies, I started seeing all these challenges that were keeping them from growing. And so I pulled together a group of experts in each of those areas that my clients needed help in. And we solved those issues for them. And not surprisingly, they started to grow pretty rapidly. And because of my M&A background, I saw the opportunity to strategically position them for an exit. And so we had a series of very successful opportunities to exit. And then Plan B kicked in, and I came across a technology, digital communication technology, while I was serving my clients. And since I had a real passion for helping them grow, I saw this technology, which later became known as voice broadcasting, was a replacement. We were doing all of our clients' direct mail, probably about 1 million pieces per day of direct mail. And while it worked, it was expensive. It wasn't, people perceive it as being junk mail, but it worked. And I had an epiphany that with voice broadcasting, the human voice can create an emotion, a sense of urgency. It can influence behavior. It was really a matter of how we used it. It wasn't so much delivering a voice message. It was being able to convey emotion that our clients wanted and needed to do. So plus it was instantaneous. Plus, it was inside the house that was not in a crowded mailbox. And so we transitioned all of our clients to that within less than 30 days, and the results were astounding. And then after doing that successfully for a number of months, had my next epiphany, and that was, rather than just work with small companies, transition it to Fortune 500 companies. And we had major money center banks such as JP Morgan, Chase, Wells Fargo become clients. And then shortly after that, AT&T. And very quickly, we spread into multiple verticals, retail, healthcare. And a number of years later, we saw an opportunity. The electric utility industry was a little bit behind the times in terms of customer satisfaction. And so they were being mandated by their PUCs, the Public Utility Commissions, to improve that. And we said, well, we have a great deal of background in learning how to create proactive information for our clients. And we saw not only tremendous savings, multiple millions of dollars of savings. But because we were proactively communicating with our customers, they then didn't have to extend the extra effort to communicate with the companies that they were doing business. So customer loyalty increased at the same time, customer satisfaction. And so we brought everything that we learned over the years to the electric utility industry. And the great thing about the industry is it's not competitive. And so many of the problems that major utilities have permeate the entire industry. So as they experienced those solutions, our company grew. And then we continued to guide its organic growth through the various years. And a few years ago, we sold it to a public company that is also a CPaaS, a communication platform as a service. And so in the thought process of what I had learned over this long career, I had a real passion for helping other tech entrepreneurs to overcome their challenges of growing their company toward a successful exit as well.
Mm. Wow. So many questions because, wow, the story is incredible of what you were able to do to really find a niche and solve a problem. And I think that's the key with any product as you're developing it. I mean, if it doesn't solve a problem that your customers have, well, then why are you even spending the time developing it? And I know you've seen this. I've seen this. It's just so sad when so many entrepreneurs spend so much time developing a product no one wants. But I mean, when you're thinking about like this journey that you've been on, you've worked with the big Fortune 500 companies, Chase, AT&T, all these guys. What is that secret sauce that allowed you to gain those as customers? Like, how did that happen?
We listened.
You listened.
Well, initially it was they had specific needs that we began addressing, but in the process of meeting those messaging needs, we were listening to our client. We were paying attention to those customers. So my advice to tech entrepreneurs that are looking to identify gaps in the market is as you're working with your clients or prospects, really pay attention to what their needs are to identify that gap and in order to develop that initial product, but then have that feedback loop necessary to continue to modify. You know, features should not be done in a vacuum. Features should be done in terms of a feedback loop of what is moving the needle for your client.
I love it. I love it. So, Bill, just to kind of go back to that genesis of Bill Potter, what was it that attracted you to the tech space? Like, what made you interested to do that?
Well, I have. It was with the end in mind. You look at what are you trying to accomplish, and as an entrepreneur, I really feel that you're taking your time, your expertise, funding, and investing all of that toward an exit strategy. And so if you're looking for what value do I have to create, and then you just work backwards from, well, if companies are looking to acquire companies that are rapidly growing, that have high profit margins, that have high quality of earnings, what does that look like? And I'm looking at the entire landscape of all businesses out there that you can invest in, and that led me very quickly to software. Once the software is developed and it is responsive to a need, you're going to be able to have substantial growth. Software companies, as a rule, have incredibly high margin relative to other industries. Ones that are inefficiently run could be at 60, 70 plus percent. Ones that are incredibly efficiently run could be 90% profit margin. And so that really helps the tech entrepreneur to finance his growth internally, because as he ramps up revenue, the high profit margin drops right to the bottom line and helps to finance further growth. And so that's why I chose the software in the tech industry, is because of that ability to scale.
So would you encourage any tech entrepreneurs, or let me rephrase that, how would you encourage tech entrepreneurs who may be earlier on in the stage and they're developing a product, or they even have just a concept for a product? How would you encourage them in light of the concept of just being a high margin space?
scalability. You have to have a product that is in wide demand. It's a known fact that wealth is a direct proportion of how many people you help. And you take a look at an Amazon. How many customers do they have? And it started out in a very nascent stage, but look at it today. So when you're looking at, it's not just software. I came across a development company that was specializing in pizza delivery apps, and I'm going, how big is that market? But when you're doing customer engagement communication, I knew intuitively that you're consuming from every industry. So it was applicable to every single industry that is consumer facing. And so from that standpoint, the first thing I would look at is the scale of the total addressable market.
I love it. I love it. So when it comes to just kind of pivoting a little bit, tell me about you. Like, what is it that you're passionate about outside of building successful companies and advising entrepreneurs all the way to their successful exit? Tell me about like your heart behind all of that. Why do you do what you do?
I get excited about solving big problems, and I really enjoy helping people. One of the things that I'm most proud about of what we accomplished at Message Broadcast is that we save countless millions of hours of people's time and effort in doing business with the companies that they patronize. And in that process, we're helping some of the biggest brands achieve a level of customer loyalty by reducing their clients' customer effort in a very significant way. And so that appealed to me. And what I see so often with aspiring tech entrepreneurs is that their vision is right, but their business experience is holding them back. And so what I love doing is not only helping them solve the problems that they're trying to address, but be able to do it on scale. And so that's what really drives my interest in helping aspiring entrepreneurs, is figuring out how to take their dream and their passion and scale it on a global basis.
So with that being said, you've obviously helped numerous businesses, whether it's an M&A deal or even just stepping in and advising. I know you're working and advising Data Capable right now.
Correct.
What success stories have you seen, and is there maybe a specific example that you'd love to give of a business that you've been able to help, and what was the catalyst for that change?
Well, prior to Message Broadcast, one of my clients was a mortgage broker, and he was trying to emerge as a mortgage banker, but he was also dealing with so many different operational issues. So our company came in and dealt with all those operational issues. And when I first met this gentleman, I was so impressed with not only where he was in terms of the segment. He was in high loan-to-value second trust deeds when that was a thing, and it was probably the most high-volume-oriented opportunity to go after, and it had high margins. And so in my first meeting with him, I said, if you stay with me for a few years, I'll take you public, and it'll probably be for hundreds of millions of dollars. And he said, well, I'm not the type of person that is the chairman of a public company. I would be happy with a private sale. So he was already thinking about an exit strategy, but he had no idea how to get there. So our company came in, addressed all of his operational needs, and he started to grow incredibly rapidly. And 15 months later, we thought it was the right time to be able to exit him. And he gave me an idea of what his exit price was. And I said, well, let's test the market. And so that was the M&A side of what we did, because we were positioning his company strategically for an exit of all those metrics that were necessary for the buyer to want to buy. And so we began marketing the company, and within 30 days, we had offers that were triple what he was interested in selling for. And so it's also, that's the other thing that I get excited about helping entrepreneurs, is helping them fully realize, helping them achieve the value, but then fully realize the value on exit. And, one of my favorite sayings is, anyone can start a business, but it really does take an expert to know how to grow a business. And that's really where our passion is helping entrepreneurs realize their dream. Because so many hit a level of a phase where they stagnate and they get frustrated and fatigued, and many fail at that point. And so we help them through that process.
I love that. I love that. So when you think about just kind of the defining chapter of your career so far, because obviously your career is still ongoing, but can you tell me a little bit about what you think that would be?
Well, Thrive Advisors is geared toward helping those tech entrepreneurs, but it's also an opportunity for us to network through the technology space and look for opportunities to actually acquire companies and run them ourselves. So while we're helping so many figure out how to get past that stagnation phase, there are probably the upper 1% of those opportunities that may be good acquisition opportunities. And so our desire is to acquire one of those stagnated companies, help them through that phase, and guide them toward that organic growth that they're capable of doing. But then it's beyond that. Being able then to raise the capital to do additional acquisitions. Because what we did at Message Broadcast is we organically grew and had a very profitable exit. But one thing that we didn't do was to do follow-on tuck-in acquisitions that could have quadrupled the value of the company. And so that was, talk about a defining moment. We looked back and we were thinking, well, everyone was so impressed with what was accomplished. And I looked at it as what we didn't accomplish. And so the next time would be through being able to apply all those necessary learnings from what we didn't do, and then be able to do it and achieve that valuation.
Wow. Well, speaking of challenges, every business faces them.
Yes.
Stagnation, obviously financial challenges, staffing challenges, all of the above. What is maybe an example of a challenge that you faced, and how did you overcome it?
Well, we were, it's easier to advise a company than to manage a company because you're in the heat of it. And one of the things that I noticed as we successfully grew our company is that we would have ballistic growth, but we were challenged always positioning the company to handle 50%, 100% annual growth rate operationally. And so it was pretty obvious to us that if we wanted to continue on having sustained hyper growth, we actually had to build the company that needed to be there to operationally handle that growth. So it is probably one of the greatest challenges beyond having enough capital is having enough of the right people. Having dedicated experts within the company to handle that growth. So if you want to grow to double your revenue, it actually is it's a different sized organization. And being able to proactively be able to pre-position all of that as you have figured out the recipe for sales growth through marketing and sales, yes, you can begin to ramp the company up. But if you don't have the capital, the personnel, the operations, the process, all of that finely tuned in every aspect of the business, it's like that weakest link in a chain. That one area that you're not prepared for growth will slow you down, even if you're firing on all of those cylinders, because you're going to have to be able to pull back. And that's why you see a lot of successful companies grow ballistically and then hit a point of consolidation. They didn't learn their lesson. Then they grow ballistically again, and they have to go into another period of consolidation. What we've been able to do is to pre-position all of those solutions before that growth hits, and it allows the growth to be able to grow substantially faster. And that's how you can sustain triple-digit growth on an annual year-over-year basis if you do that.
That's incredible. And you know, Bill, when you and I first met, and I was explaining to you how I had always in my own business seen that kind of stair step approach. And I just thought that was how it was supposed to be. And now knowing that it doesn't have to be that way. That's
well,
huge.
It doesn't have to be that way,
huge.
but the reason that it is corporate management, the management of companies, plus the investors, they don't want to put that much capital into play before it's needed. And that ends up being their Achilles heel, is if you can determine that secret sauce recipe of growing sales through marketing and sales, you have to have the organization behind it to support it. And it does take a fair amount of courage to invest capital and personnel and infrastructure before it's needed in order to facilitate that growth. But once you have all areas of the company, organization, and the growth of it determined, you're compelled to do it the right way. And those are the companies that are exceptional. And those are the companies that other companies want to buy.
Well, speaking of exceptional, I'll say this. Whenever you look at like a personality test or something like that, Myers-Briggs, DISC, what have you, most CFOs end up in the high C category, high cautionary category, very risk averse. Why are you different? Why? How is that possible?
Well, I am cautious, and it's that caution that actually spurs hyper growth. Because what you'll find with a lot of entrepreneurs is that they want a lifestyle business. And to me, the only reason to start a business is to exit the business and to do it in the most substantial way possible, as quickly as possible, because with technology, the way that the trends change so quickly, that puts you at risk. And so the idea is to get in there and to make all areas of the business grow as quickly as possible. And that does start with having sufficient capital and applying that capital, which is that cautionary restriction. CFO-led companies tend not to grow. And having been a CFO, I also saw that my job was to help facilitate growth, not to restrict it. And so if you can position the company in all areas to grow, the safest thing is to grow it as quickly as possible and exit. And so that to me is being cautionary, is get in, get out as fast as possible, create the highest valuation, and achieve that. And it does take expertise in all areas to be able to accomplish that. And that's why I created Thrive Advisors, is because recognizing that I can take people, so many tech entrepreneurs look at it just as a job for life. And when I show them that you can exit a company for north of 10 times revenue, they get it pretty quickly.
Very quickly. Wow. So speaking of kind of that caution, what are some common pitfalls that you see tech entrepreneurs maybe in the phase of they've seen revenue, they've got a viable product, but they're running into some issues? What are some common pitfalls that you see them really falling into?
Well, they don't. The most common one is they may be technically competent in the development of their product, but they don't have the experience, the hands-on experience of being able to know how to start with the end in mind, how to reverse engineer the strategic growth of the company, and all the disciplines and necessary expertise that is required to do that. It's usually, I'm building a product, I'm testing the product, I'm deploying it, I'm selling it one account at a time. And that is not how to strategically grow a company. It's how to start a company, but then they will guaranteed hit that point of stagnation. And so what I see is the ability, well, it's all encompassing. So creating that company culture, because the people in the company are what drive the innovation, that drive the production, the scalability. So when we were at Message Broadcast, we really focused on building a team atmosphere, and they carried us through the tough times because they knew that this was a place they wanted to be and that they believed in the mission. That's key. Then recruiting. We spent so much time with piles of resumes trying to figure out who to hire, and it was a hit and miss. When we have this one recruiter who is just amazing. She's not even a recruiter; she is a source of talent, of acquiring talent. That alone propelled our tremendous success. Cash flow was never really an issue for us, one, because we had our own source of funding by ourselves, but also the high profit margins that we were driving were also self-funding the growth. So that is the CFO part of it, is being able to have sufficient capital. If the tech-led founders don't have sufficient capital, being able to figure out how to acquire capital at its lowest possible cost, and then being able to manage it and deploy it properly. So it's just such a... It's almost like being an orchestra conductor, and you're wanting to try to create harmony, but it's harmony with all these functional areas that if any one is off, it will restrict the growth.
Wow. So when it comes to the high margin that you keep referencing, you've referenced it throughout this entire episode so far. How does a entrepreneur that's bringing a product fresh to the market, how do they figure out what to charge for it to even make sure that they're getting those margins? I mean, how do you go about that?
Well, the good news is there's competition.
Yeah.
And the market typically has a price set for it. What we found is that when it came to communicate, we were in the communications business, that everybody viewed it as a commodity. And so how do you differentiate yourself from a commodity? Even internally, we had salespeople that assumed, since our name was Message Broadcast, we were in the business of broadcasting messages. And that was not true. We were in the business of influencing customer behavior. And so we set ourselves out as subject matter experts in the ability to create that end goal for our clients. And that set us at a premium. While other companies were commoditizing their prices, we were actually increasing our prices. So once you're in the industry that you're in and looking for ways to differentiate yourself, that is the thing that sets apart commodity businesses versus thriving businesses.
Wow. So thank you for that. I know without a doubt that every entrepreneur listening in on that is going to file that away. So when you think about just kind of some tips, I mean, you're an advisor, so you advise. So what are some common pieces of advice that you share with folks walking through your door to ask for advice?
Well, most of the companies that are talking to us have hit the wall of stagnation. They have developed an understanding of their market. They have developed an understanding of how to deliver a product that addresses those needs. But what they haven't figured out is most of the other things: cash flow management, acquisition of talent, retention of talent, how to scale the sales and marketing. And so when they come to us, I would say, in fact, I was just in a CEO roundtable, and I was talking to a company that had an international presence for medical distribution of medical devices, and he was just talking about the symptoms of his problems, and I said, "Sounds like you need an advisor who is a fractional CFO." I mean, he had a very focused need, and without knowing all the aspects of his business, he probably needs a more well-rounded advisor. But I would say, look, it's there's no shame in admitting that you need help. That's why advisors exist. They're the guide to get you through those challenges that may be very unique to you or may be very common among many companies. But if you allow yourself to stay stuck in that mode, you run the risk of going out of business.
Wow. Well, Bill, if you could just leave the audience as we wrap up because I mean, I know that we've had a lot of conversation, and I appreciate that we've had everyone stick with us the whole time. As we wrap up, what would you say your final parting wisdom would be for them as a tech founder, tech entrepreneur?
Keep the faith. There is help out there. What we find is that the just the fatigue from not knowing how to grow your business. Trust your instincts that you have found the right market, the right solution, but that you need guidance to get through that period of stagnation into hypergrowth, and then strategically position your company. Know your why. One of the guiding principles for me was what was motivating me to excellence, and that probably is the single biggest reason that creates the persistence for success, finding that solution, even if it's going to an advisor. My personal why was well beyond the material gain of an exit strategy. It was to be able to follow my passion of helping other people. And so that's what drives me to exceptional performance, is my desire to help other people. I have a nonprofit that I really believe in that helps young people overcome some of the challenges that they've had throughout their lifetime. And it gives me great satisfaction to not only mentor them to become self-sufficient, but we have actually started a process of teaching them how to become entrepreneurs.
I love it.
Because what I have found is some of the brightest, hardest working people don't even have an education. And so they can achieve greatness and self-fulfillment, self-actualization. So that's a real driving force. So as tech entrepreneurs are trying to figure out, why am I doing this? Make sure you're really grounded with that why and that purpose. And that will give you the persistence needed to see through those challenging times.
I love it. Well, Bill, I know we've had the tables turned a little bit on this episode. I feel like I've only been the one asking questions, which is great. I've absolutely loved hearing your story and hearing your heart behind all this. So thanks for letting me sit in this seat.
Well, it's a pleasure. And the other thing is, no one knows everything, and that includes me. I have a lot of experience, but I would say one of the great challenges is knowing how to delegate. I don't need to control everything. So working with you, I don't have the expertise in marketing that you do, but I know talent when I see it, and that is what I really want to get across to tech entrepreneurs is encircle yourself with the best people, and you will succeed.
Love it.
So thank you. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us on the Thrive Podcast. If this episode added value to your journey, please share, subscribe, and leave us a review. For all the tech founders out there, I encourage you to visit our website at thriveadvisors.com. Remember, most businesses encounter a period of stagnation, but at Thrive Advisors, we're here to put the right strategy in place, set it into motion, and steer your venture to success and a profitable exit. Until next time, thank you for joining us.